a feeling I can't describe what it is to be alive, and no matter how I try, it escapes me. Heart set afire, glowing, crackling wild, this stops me in my tracks, yeah, it wakes me, and I say, so good on both sides of the street. All the facts were still the same, but just a whole lot less like shame. And I fell in love with the rough spots on my face and feet. Ooh, rise and shine. We only got today to be alive. Share it with you. So sit down for a while. What's the point of running from things we've already left behind? Ooh, don't hide. Promise I'll look forward if I can.
Hi, good morning and welcome. That was Wake Me Up by Parker Woodland, and that is the lovely lead singer of a band who is also a reverend in our service today. So, hello and welcome to our online Sunday service of the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship that we like to call HUF. My name is Scarlet Trippsmith, and I will be your technical liaison for today. Now, if this is your first time joining us, we are so happy that you found us, and please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat to everyone. We welcome you warmly. We welcome you, and we all know that you come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, different backgrounds, and we hope that you will find comfort and connection, challenge, and love here. And as you can see, you are muted. However, later in the service, at the end, we will have our breakout room coffee hour where you'll be able to converse with your fellow community and congregants. So please stick around after the service for our virtual coffee hour. We ask that if you feel comfortable, please keep your cameras on so we can see all of your beautiful faces. For during this time when we cannot meet safely together, these online services are our way of connecting and continuing to keep the mission of our congregation alive in our own world. Today, we have Pat McCutcheon taking our joys, sorrows, and celebrations. So if you feel called, please send them in the chat to Pat McCutcheon. We're so glad you're here joining us, engaging with the work through embracing diversity and empowering those connections. Because of this today, we honor and acknowledge the land on which we live as a traditional land of the Wiyot people. We are committed to fighting for the worth and dignity of every person in our community and out. And we want to remind ourselves that we must put our words and our principles into action for the justice of the common good. So, good morning. I know it's rainy outside, but let's wake up. Let's wake up from this Sunday's morning exhaustion. Let's wake up from the wish for a few more drowsy minutes in bed. Let's wake up to this world we live in, to its beauty and wonder, and to its tragedy and pain. We must wake up to this reality that not all in our world we have what we do, however much or little that is. We must wake up to the idea that our wholeness, our lives, are not as complete as the lives of those around us, of those who are inextricably tied to the great web of mutuality, of the great web of life, which we are all a part. In the words of our friends and colleagues involved in Black Lives Matter, we must stay woke, working every day for racial justice in our community. Let's wake up, let's stay awake, and let's stay woke. Together we pledge action to transcend barriers, be they racial, political, economic, social, or religious. We pledge to make our tomorrows become our todays. We welcome and thank you for sharing your presence with us today. And now it is time and it is the place. Let us worship together. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Pat McCutcheon for our chalice lighting and aspiration.
Good morning. Let us enter into sacred space with the sound of this bell. This morning's chalice lighting is from Melanie Davis, A Spark of Hope. If ever there was a time, I rest my case. Aha, if ever there was a time. For a candle in the darkness, this would be it. Using a spark of hope, we kindle the flame of love, ignite the light of peace, and feed the flame of justice. And now, as is our custom, let us recommit together to our aspiration. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Today, we welcome Reverend Erin J. Walter. She, her, hers, a minister, activist, and musician based in Austin, all the way from Austin, and winner of the 2017 Sermon Award from the UU Women's Federation. A former YMCA director, Reverend Erin is the singer-songwriter for band Parker Woodland, whose music you heard and will hear in the service. A note about the music in the service from Erin. She has intentionally chosen a variety of styles of music, from rock and roll to a spiritual to an orchestra choir piece, in the hopes of reaching people's spirits in different ways. When you hear Parker Woodland, you are hearing Reverend Erin's voice and lyrics, as the band is part of her arts ministry. For your information, the opening hymn is at a low volume, so you'll want to turn up the sound of your device. The anthem is louder, so you may want to adjust volume down. You are always invited to sing and dance along from home. Your spirit will be felt, even on mute. So now we welcome Reverend Erin with the story for all ages.
Good morning. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Scarlet. It's so good to be with all of you today, even across the miles. And it's actually raining here in Austin as well. So it's almost like we're in the same place. I come to you from Wildflower Church, a UU congregation. I am their affiliated community minister. So we share a mission and I go out in the world with it. Our mission is growing spiritually together, spreading love, justice, and joy. So I come to you today with that spirit from our community room. During the Time for All Ages today, I feel called to share with you two practices that I have for self-care, for being gentle with yourself. And these are hard times, even as we go into a new year where there's a lot of upbeat energy coming out of inauguration and just having a new year. Bye 2020. We also still need to tend to ourselves and be gentle with ourselves. We're dealing with a lot. So the first practice I want to teach you during this time is a breathing meditation that uses our hands, and it helps us connect to our bodies. It can be easy, especially as UUs, we can really get in our heads, but it's important to connect to our body. So I want to invite you to hold up a hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to breathe in until we touch the top of a finger, and then we're going to breathe out. And the purpose of this is to remind us that we can take 5 cleansing breaths. We can connect to our bodies very easily. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it helps. Will you try it with me? Ready? Thank you. So for the kids, this is a practice you could use if your sibling is getting on your nerves while you're trapped at home, if your parents are getting on your nerves, if maybe online school is getting frustrating. It's an easy way to just calm down. And for the adults, you could even, don't close your eyes, but you could even use it as at a red light. If you're stuck in traffic, think about when you need a little calm. And then the other practice I want to do with you comes from teachers. And so during this Time for All Ages, I just want to say bless you to the parents, to the teachers, to the kids, everyone who's going through learning during this time. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old at home doing distance learning now on month 10, and it is really, really hard. And I know it's hard for my teacher friends. And so this is a meditation that was in a group for early childhood educators around distance learning and having grace with yourself in distance learning. But I think we all need to have grace with ourselves. We're all trying to learn new things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read these mantras for you. And I'm going to invite you, even though you're on mute, to say them aloud back to me. Okay, so I'll read it in my normal voice and then I'll kind of whisper it a second time so that you can say it along with me. All right, ready? The best I can do is my best. The best I can do is my best. How human of me to feel nervous about trying something new. How human of me to feel nervous about trying something new. I will give myself the same grace I give others. I will give myself the same grace I give others. I think that's a really important one. This is only temporary. This is only temporary. I can do difficult things. I can do difficult things. And these last two are two of my favorites, so really mean it with me. Here we go. I don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. Ready? I don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. And lastly, I will make mistakes, and that is okay. I will make mistakes, and that is okay. I will send you these mantras perhaps for your newsletter so you can have them. If any one of them speaks to you, hang on to it. I know I have to remember to have the same grace for myself that I have for others, and that we're all going to make mistakes, and that is okay. Thank you for sharing this time for all ages with me. Our opening hymn is Shine on Me, sung by Melanie DeMore, who is a music activist in our movement. You don't even really need the words because Melanie is going to bring you into the spirit of singing along. I just know it. And I would say that this is a song that I fell in love with in Oakland, California, when I was a chaplain there. The music director from First Unitarian in Oakland, one Sunday, one of my first Sundays there, was leading this song for the congregation. And a verse or two in, he went, hey, we can do better than this. You know it. You can give it more spirit. And so I share that memory with you because we can encourage each other to do better with love. I never felt like he was shaming us that we weren't singing it well. It was like he knew what we had in us and he wanted us to really sing out. So I invite you to sing out today.
Hello, UU family. I'm going to sing a song with you called Shine on Me. It's an amazing spiritual that anybody can sing. And in these days when the things that we're dealing with, the feeling separate and all of that, and things seem so hard, this is one of those songs that you just throw your head back, put it in your medicine kit. All you have to do is ask. And here's how it goes. Shine on me, oh shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me, oh shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Lift me up, oh, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, lift me up, yes, lift me up. Let the light from the lighthouse lift me up, oh, hold me close, yes, hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse hold me close. Yes, hold me close. So hold me close. Let the light from the lighthouse, please hold me close. Oh, shine on me, shine on me, yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. Oh, shine on me. Yes, shine on me. Let the light from the lighthouse shine on me. All you have to do is just ask. The light is always there. Always. Always. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I'm going to be looking in the chat for things that you want to share that are on your hearts. I'll be looking in the joys and sorrows you'd like me to lift up. Reverend Erin Walter said, "Good morning from Austin, Texas," and we got to meet her already. There you go. Chip Sharp says, "Thank you to Beverly Morgan Lewis and Sina Marino for helping to display our Huff and Black Lives Matter banners yesterday from noon to 1:30 at 4th and V in Eureka." David Marshak says, "Thanks to Valerie Gazinski and Karen Underwood, who lead our monthly work days to care for the Huff grounds, and to all the folks who came to help yesterday." Still keeping that place so sacred. Reverend Walter wanted us to know that is her singing in the prelude. Thanks for a place to share music in hard times. Chip Sharp says, "Scott Sattler's obituary in today's paper reveals more sweet wonders of this dear man's life." Reverend Walter says, "All you have to do is just ask. The light is always there." Melanie DeMore gets me every time. Me too, Erin. From Stephen Satang. Dan Benedict, son of Ann King, died of COVID-19 after a short illness. Dan lived in Alabama. He stayed with Ann during her last days, and many of us had the opportunity to get to know him and are in shock at the news. Oh, such a sad pebble. Birdie says, "Blessings for our country, new beginnings, a breath of fresh air." From Doug Moss, from March and Steve's, struggling so hard to keep things together. May faith sustain them. That's all the pebbles that I see for today. Blessings on all of these concerns and joys. And now we're going to have a moment of silence to reflect. I'll ring the bell at the beginning and at the ending, and we'll have a beautiful slide from Scarlet to look at. What a lot of powerful joys and sorrows. There's another one from Greg Blumstrom that just now showed up. It's for Debbie Harris, who's processing hard news about a biopsy that was positive. Emails are welcome, calls are welcome. And now it is a time when our generosity gives us hope. While we listen or rock to Parker Woodland's anthem, we give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give because we believe in music and in sacred space. We give with the faith that together we have enough.
As Scarlet starts the video, I just want to say welcome to my home in Austin, Texas. This video documents the last time I had my community all together before the pandemic. And I ask you to keep an eye out for all kinds of joy practices. Think about what joy practices you see and what joy practices might you want to center in your life this year. Thank you.
Joke or worse, they tell you it's your fault if you trust. But there's one thing I know, it's this: opposites do coexist, and the last thing they'll ever kill is love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we're not giving up. No. No, I could let you go. Say this time. It's a hard time to look for hope when the truth can feel like a joke or worse. They tell you it's your fault if you try. World's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we're not giving up. No, no. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. The world's on fire and we'll still fall in love. Hey!
Thank you all so much for the opportunity just to share music and spirit with you and to be together in this way. Austin, where I live, is known as the live music capital of the world, and it has just been heartbreaking not to be able to gather in church or in venues or anywhere, in my home, as you saw in that video, in the garage, to make music together. And so it is a gift to get to share it with you in a different way. I'm so grateful to be with you today. When I watch that video, I get transported because, like I said, it was the last time that I had my whole community in my home. And one of the things that there are a couple of phrases that I sort of live by. One of them is not that cleanliness is next to godliness, but that neighborliness is next to godliness. And a lot of those people are my neighbors. And I remember when I was getting ready for that party to shoot that video, I remember asking the neighbor who directed it, how much should I clean my house? And she said, oh no, don't clean your house. You want it to look real. And it was such a relief to be asked to just show up as I actually am. And so I want to share with you the other phrase that I hold dear, which is that to remind ourselves that we are always comparing our messy insides to other people's shiny outsides, especially in this age where we're spending so much time on screens and we're checking in with each other based on curated photos and things that we've shared. So remember, if you're aching, if you're just feeling ill at ease inside, if you're grieving, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, and it looks like you're the only one, you are not. You are not alone in how you are feeling today. And so I think of that when I watch that video, because that was me letting people into my messy insides. And it's hard to do that now in COVID. How do we let people see our messy insides where we truly, deeply connect? So we have to think about that. We have to think about finding new ways to connect and new ways to share what is really true, letting people see who we really are. There was a lot of joy in that video, and it reminds me of what I'm fighting for and what we're all fighting for when we're trying to stay healthy, when we're trying to stay home, when we're doing work to battle white supremacy culture or anything that has to do with justice. We're trying to build the world we dream about. And I see that when I look at my community and all of those things. So I'll name a few things, but I hope you're thinking about, and we can talk in coffee hour about joy practices in your life or that you saw. I saw wigs, bubbles. I saw pizza and pancakes. So like the fellowship of sharing food. I miss having food right here and fellowship time in Wildflower with folks. I saw art, the kids doing the art, the hand finger painting, on my glass. And I'll tell you, I did not wash that paint off for 6 months. It was a reminder, and it was hard to let it go. But let me tell you this too. When my mom and I finally washed it off in the late summer, it was incredible to look out at the world again through these big glass windows and see a bigger picture And so that's another thing I'm going to ask us to be thinking about today. What that may have served us at some point can we let go of in order to move forward more lightly in this year as we're working to get out of this pandemic? And so what I'm going to share with you first is a quote from Indian author and activist Arundhati Roy. These words speak so deeply to me. She writes, historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. We can choose to walk through it, dragging the carcasses of our prejudice and hatred, our avarice, our databanks and dead ideas, dead rivers and smoky skies behind us. Or we can walk through lightly, with little luggage, ready to imagine another world and ready to fight for it. I love that. This time is a portal. What are we moving toward? What lightly will we carry? And what will we leave behind? One of the things that I want to leave behind is our negative language and association around darkness and blackness that is woven into the language of our entire culture. And it has real impact and real consequences. And I'm going to talk about this anti-blackness and the need to love darkness as we love lightness. And then we're going to talk about what we want to bring forth. So this is what I want to leave behind. And in a little bit, we'll talk about the joy practices we want to carry with us through the portal. So if that video I showed you of the world's on fire and we still fall in love is kind of the epitome of joy for me, the flip of that was watching the videos of the insurrection in our capital a couple of weeks ago. I tried not to watch too much. I try not to let the 24-hour news cycle rule my life. But I knew that I had to watch at least a little bit to be honest with myself about what was really going on. And so I saw a series of videos, and it was truly horrific. The scenes of white mobs calling for the hanging of Mike Pence. I can only imagine for my siblings, colleagues, friends of color, the feeling of hearing people say, hang someone. Just horrific. And it was to me. The people just going heave ho, trying to overtake the building. And the thing that struck me the most was when an anchor was introducing the footage. He used a lot of language that I think Unitarian Universalists use. He tried to be a truth teller. He tried to name things like, this is white supremacist violence. And it was powerful. Yet at the same time, he did something that we also do, that I do. And that was he used the word darkness negatively. He said, what you're about to see is darker than what you would have imagined. And I found myself on the other end of my TV wanting to go, no. The word you are looking for is whiter. White supremacist culture is what we were seeing, not darkness, whiteness. And so wherever we can find a way to name things more clearly, because darkness, like lightness, is a part of all of us. Darkness is where our babies grow in the womb. Darkness is the fertile soil where our seeds break open in a liberation toward growth. And I pray that that's what we're seeing now is an opening and a liberation toward growth. Darkness is where the night sky and the moon shine down on us. And so I want to share with you this poem from Rainer Maria Rilke. When I ask about joy practices, poetry is one that has been helping me get through this year, this pandemic. And a friend sent this poem to me, go to the limits of your longing, because I have felt at the limits. Have you felt at your limits in the past year at all? I have. And there's a line in here, no feeling is final. And my friend sent me this poem because she knew that having so much grief and so much loss, one of the things was that I lost my job at the YMCA last year because as hard as we fought, there was just no money. People were losing their jobs, so they were canceling their membership. So many of us lost our jobs, and it was really hard because I loved that ministry there. And so she sent me this poem that included the phrase, no feeling is final, to remind me that even though I was grieving, that joy cometh in the morning, that a new day would dawn. I would not feel this way forever. But there are some things in this poem about darkness that speak to me even more, and I share it with you now. God speaks to each of us as he makes us, then walks with us silently out of the night. These are the words we dimly hear. You, sent out beyond your recall, go to the limits of your longing. Embody me, flare up like a flame, and make big shadows I can move in. Let everything happen to you. Beauty and terror, just keep going. No feeling is final. Don't let yourself lose me. Nearby is the country they call life, and you will know it by its seriousness. Give me your hand. Friends, we are here in this country, in this life, and we are feeling its seriousness. I wish I could hold your hand. And the piece that I cling to is this. Rilke imagines the voice of the divine, and however you define God, however you define the divine, the still small voice, the ground of being, Rilke speaks in that voice and says, embody me, flare up like a flame and make big shadows I can move in. When you feel in darkness, remember the divine is with you in those shadows. Flare up like a flame. The world is on fire and we are casting shadows, but they don't have to be thought of as always negative. The divine is with you. When you wake in the night and you can't sleep, when you're depressed and sad and lonely, you are not alone. Those shadows hold your growth. As sure as the soil holds the seed, as sure as the womb holds life, your shadow will lead to your growth. And so I ask you to think about how you have been growing in this time. Does that mean I would want this pandemic? Does that mean I would want the pandemic of systemic racism, of environmental degradation? Never. And those shadows give us room to grow. And so let's not refuse that. Let's embrace our chances to grow. Before we have a closing song, I want to offer you a piece of scripture. I grew up Unitarian Universalist with very little Bible exposure. And so I wanted to work in an interfaith world and I wanted to have more literacy in it. And so when I heard that there's a version of the Bible called the Poverty and Justice Bible, that Reverend Dr. William Barber, that William Barber used, our great justice advocate out of North Carolina, I got this version. And I love to highlight books, but this Poverty and Justice Bible comes already highlighted with passages that relate to poverty and justice, which I know you, as you use, care about. So I commend this version to you if you need one. But the verse I'm going to read for you before we close out this time is from Exodus. Feminist scholar Carol Myers has said that Exodus is the most important book of the Bible, perhaps. And I bet you're familiar with the story. The Israelites are on the long journey out of slavery toward the promised land, in the desert, in the wilderness. And so whether you connect with this story as a descendant of slaves, as someone whose ancestors owned slaves, as someone with a connection to the prison industrial complex that is modern day slavery, or whether you connect with it simply with the concept of being in the wilderness on a long journey, which I feel we are in this pandemic, I invite you to connect with chapter 16, verses 19 through 21, the Song of Miriam. After the Israelites had walked safely through on dry ground, Miriam, the sister of Aaron, was a prophet. So she took her tambourine and led the other women out to play their tambourines and to dance. Then she sang to them. Friends, I have my tambourine with me today. One of a few that I have at my house. But what I want to ask you to think about is, what is your tambourine? And what I mean by that is, what is your instrument of joy? What is your instrument of inclusion? Miriam went out and she didn't just play the tambourine for other people to watch. She was a prophet, so she took her tambourine and led the other women out to play their tambourines and to dance. So what is your instrument for inviting others in to their joy? For liberating what is a hard time into also including joy? What is your instrument? It could be inviting a neighbor in a mask to go for a walk. It could be gardening with a person in your pod. Maybe it is a tambourine for you, but what is your tambourine? And let me tell you this, I believe that we as Unitarian Universalists are called, each of us, into a prophetic ministry right now. And what I love here is that Miriam, the sister of Aaron, was a prophet, so she brought her tambourine. Not Miriam was a prophet and they tolerated her tambourine. Not Miriam was a prophet, and by the way, she had a tambourine, so she had a tambourine. That tambourine was part of her prophetic work. And all of us have a role to play in this fiery, fiery world that still includes love, and that is to bring your voice and let there be joy in it. So when we get time together in coffee, I want to hear from you. What are you using to invite people in? Are you inviting them to church? That's the last thing I want to say. There are people out there who have never seen a rainbow at church, who have never been invited to come just as they are, light and dark, in all the ways that we show up as humans. This congregation is needed. There is someone out there who thinks their messy guts make them unworthy. Please tell your people. Please invite people to church. Zoom makes it accessible. I'm here from Texas. Invite your people from anywhere. People need to hear that they are loved, and they need to sing. They need a place to sing. They need a place to be with you. So that is my ask of you today. Let this church be your tambourine, and invite each other in to what is real. Blessed be. From here we go to our closing hymn, How Can I Keep From Singing? And again, I invite you to sing out, even though we're on mute.
Storm can shake my inmost heart, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing?
with gratitude for all those musicians who made that possible. It's amazing. I invite you, always by invitation, always and all things by consent, I invite you to put out your hands for the benediction. If you are home with someone else, I mean, God, to hold someone's hand, something we will never take for granted again. I invite you to hold hands if your neighbor in your home is willing. And for those of you like me who are in the room alone, I invite you to imagine holding a very special person's hand in the sanctuary when we can be together again. Let us breathe. Spirit of life and love, divine of many names, who accompanies us through light and dark, I give thanks for this day. Thank you for the opportunities to grow, to sing, to dance, to face what is difficult, and to be there for one another in what is difficult. I thank you for this congregation and for everyone who is doing the work to keep it going in hard times so that we may be together again and that we may be present to the mess of being human together. May we please be lighthouses for the world, and may we always keep singing. Amen. Blessed be.
Thank you so much, Reverend Erin. We extinguish this chalice flame, daring to carry forward the vision of this free faith, that freedom, reason, and justice will one day prevail in this nation and across the earth. We have a little bit of Annette to help us out. Here she comes. Holding hands together across the screen. Go from here in peace and love. Go from here in peace, go in love. Go from here in peace, go in love. Go in peace. Shalom, salam alaikum, blessed be, ashe, aho. Please stay home, stay safe, stay connected, and stay for our virtual dance party and coffee connection. See you soon.
Okay, you guys can now all unmute yourselves. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and I have created a breakout room for you all. So if you wanted to be in a breakout room with our guest speaker, Reverend Erin Walter, please either raise a hand or you have the option to do it yourself if you have an upgraded Zoom. If you go to more, you have an option that gives you breakout rooms, and it should just be room 1. And if not, please just give me a raised hand and I'll get to you when I can. So.
Thank you to Scarlet and Pat and everyone involved in making the service happen.
Absolutely. Yay.